Newly released financial disclosure forms show President Trump made more than $1.4 billion in cryptocurrency-related income last year as president. According to the 927-page disclosure, President Trump earned $635 million from his meme coin. He also pulled in more than $500 million from token sales and $65 million from selling equity stake related to World Financial Liberty, a crypto company he co-founded with his sons. Trump also continued to make money from his real estate holdings, including $121 million from Trump National Doral, $77 million from Mar-a-Lago, and $39 million from Trump Tower Chicago. The forms show another $80 million coming in from various legal settlements with companies including Meta, ABC, CBS, and YouTube. When asked for a statement, the White House responded that Trump, quote, proudly made the United States the crypto capital of the world, adding the president never engaged in any conflicts of interest. Forgive me for chuckling through that, Anand. This is staggering, these numbers, and it's just out in the open. There used to be concerns. You can go back to George W. Bush, when his dad was president, people were concerned that he sat on the board of an oil company, that there might be influence there. We mentioned Hunter Biden and Burisma. There was concern his father was vice president of the United States. In this case, though, you have Donald Trump, who's obviously has his hand on the scale, his thumb on the scale of cryptocurrency policy, profiting to the tune of $1.4 billion. And we put it all together just in this year and a half of his second term, more than $2 billion coming into him.
It's staggering. It's corrupt. And Willie, like the skilled and seasoned newsman you are, you segued from the birthright citizenship story to this story. But I would argue it's the same story. And here's why. The story about this corruption and self-dealing is what is really going on in the United States. The fleecing of the United States by this president and his cronies and his oligarch friends. And what people do when they want to fleece a country in the way that he is distract most people and try to get them to not look up at the very powerful people who are through our institutions, and instead to look sideways at the guy next to them. Look at that immigrant over there. Look at that black person over there. Look at that homeless person over there. The project of Donald Trump is to fleece this country and make money for himself through crypto, through sneakers, through whatever else, and to trick all of us into thinking that someone who came here from Mexico trying to work on a farm in the hope of giving their children a better life is our problem. It's really, really important to not be distracted and to look up at stories of like that corruption and not sideways.
David Drucker, the New York Post editorial board this week, before these filings even came out, published a piece with the headline, Hunter Biden-style sleaze is just as slimy when the Trump boys do it, talking about the president's sons. It reads in part, insider deals, finder's fees, and backdoor introductions to family members are business as usual in third world banana republics. But these slimy practices have now been normalized in the White House to the shame of the nation. The Trump sons are part owners or investors in companies neck deep in a key defense contract in Central Asia. It stinks to high heaven. Democrats in Congress are pressing for an investigation into Trump's sweetheart deals. If they take the House in the midterms, these hearings are surely coming. It would behoove the Trump administration, writes the New York Post, and the nation as a whole, if the president gets ahead of the growing scandal, acts transparently, and cleans up the whole mess before it swamps his final 2 years in office and defines his legacy. Mike Barnicle. So that's a bit about the Trump sons. You could bring Jared Kushner into this as well, the deals he's negotiated over the years while he's negotiating ostensibly for peace in Iran and other places.
Along with Witkoff's son.
With Steve Witkoff and his kids, too. But again, the numbers that we're talking about this morning in this new disclosure, particularly on cryptocurrency, which this administration has pumped up, has offered pardons to Chinese crypto executives, are well over $1 billion in a year and a half.
Yeah, the numbers are staggering. The act itself, the way they're getting this money, is almost beyond belief. David Drucker, have you ever sensed or thought you would be covering a story of this magnitude all out in the open, all in public, whatever you want to call it, unarmed robbery, fleecing, whatever. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think what's very incredible about this, Mike, is that the Trump administration's defense, the president's defense, is that they are being transparent about this. They're not trying to hide this. They're not really just trying to distract voters at all. They're saying that what they're doing is A-OK. And as proof, we're acknowledging as much, and we're continuing to do it. I think the question here is, is there going to be pushback by more than just Democrats, and we clearly see independent voters rejecting this sort of thing. And this continues to be a shirts and skins game. This is what Congress in part exists for, which is to scrutinize the executive and rein them in when they're coloring outside the lines, and to put it mildly. And you're just not going to get that from this Republican Congress. But what we've seen over the years with lesser offenses is that Congress is unwilling to rein in a president when it's of their own party. But the question here is, how much political baggage does this create for the next Republican nominee for president? And how much baggage does this create for Republican candidates in midterm elections, in competitive races? I'm very curious to see what happens with this, because I think voters will tell us, and they do tell us this, that this corruption is unconscionable and unseemly, and it shouldn't go on. And yet when they're making their decisions about who to vote for, they end up prioritizing things that are very different, and then saying, listen, I wish I didn't have to vote for this unethical candidate, or this candidate participating in illegal or unseemly behavior, but what choice do I have? And as long as they continue to do that, I think this sort of behavior is going to continue.
Yeah, the shirts and skins. I mean, we can ask the question that answers itself. What would Republicans on Capitol Hill be saying if Joe Biden or Barack Obama had shown in a filing that they'd made $2 billion in their first year and a half? Historians this morning in every newspaper you can find, right and left, calling this an unprecedented amount of wealth for a president and an unprecedented conflict of interest.